Hello, Knox County students. I'm Mrs. No, and I teach language arts at Northwest Middle School. Today's lesson is based on Task 3 for Grade 6 ELA. If you do not have this assignment, it can be found by visiting the KCS website at knoxschools.org. Click See All Resources under the KCS logo. Be sure to have this week's task printed before continuing this video. If you haven't gathered the material for the KCS at Home Summer Edition Task 3 for Grade 6, pause the video and gather your materials before moving on. Now, let's get started. If this video is hard to understand, turn on closed captions if available. Adjust playback speed to slow down the video. Consider watching in short clips, then pause, listen, and watch again. Ask someone in your home to watch the video with you. Stop frequently and talk to your partner about what you heard and understood. Now, let's move on. The material for the KCS Diction and Appealing to Pathos. This week's learning targets are: analyze the figurative, connotative, and technical meanings of words and phrases used in text. Identify and analyze examples of persuasive diction. Match style and purpose of writing by applying looping and persuasive diction to add pathos. In this activity, you will learn to harness the power of persuasive language to appeal to a reader's emotions. So, let's jump right in. What's in a word? Consider how similar words can make you feel in different ways. Word connotation is the feeling or idea that's suggested by a word. That means one synonym of a word can give you positive or pleasant feelings, but another synonym could give you negative or unpleasant feelings. For instance, would you rather be considered curious or nosy? The word curious calls to mind positive feelings, and it makes me feel happy. On the other hand, the word nosy could make you feel negative or unpleasant. Word choice or diction is an important aspect of argumentative writing because words can carry an emotional impact. Each one represents the opportunity for a writer to convince his or her audience. Our emotions dictate our actions, and by using strong words in our writing, we can change a person's opinion altogether. Now let's talk about persuasive diction. Persuasive diction is using word choice to persuade a reader or to convince them to do something. In argumentative writing, it's a writer's goal to convince the reader to believe in a certain way. Since all a writer has is his words, he must use specific words that will affect his audience. This makes the argumentative writing effective in persuading and convincing the reader. Pathos is a way of convincing an audience of an argument by creating an emotional response using powerful adjectives and powerful verbs. Pathos is important to argumentative writing. When it's used properly, it can make a boring argument come alive for an audience. Advertisers often try to appeal to the emotional needs of an audience by showing how their product or service makes them happier, safer, or healthier. These advertisers will use emotions of fear, disgust, and hope to trigger reactions in their audiences. So, in short, Pathos is the act of adding powerful adjectives and verbs to evoke strong emotions and convince an audience to take action. This leads us to our first activity, learning from advertisements. Remember that pathos is a way of creating an emotional response by using powerful adjectives and powerful verbs to convince your audience. You will examine the advertisements in the next few slides. Make sure to analyze the advertisement for technical words. These words are important to context or the subject of your article. You must understand these words in order to understand the topic of your advertisement. Also, look for powerful adjectives. These are words that are very strong descriptive words. Also look for powerful adjectives. These are strong descriptive words. Then find any powerful verbs that could spark emotions. Also look for powerful adjectives and verbs that could spark emotions of fear, disgust, anger, sympathy, pity, sorrow, or hope. As you look over the advertisements in the next few slides, in the My Notes section of your document, add any powerful adjectives to the list. Add any powerful verbs to the list. And also note the technical words specific to context of the advertisement. Then answer each question. What is each word's literal meaning? This is the actual definition of the words that you find. How do you think the word has emotional impact? Remember, does it stir the emotion of fear? How about disgust? Anger? Maybe sorrow? Maybe it just calls people to action. Also, what audience might be persuaded by these words? Think about that as you're looking at the advertisement. Pause here and let's analyze this advertisement for pathos, shall we? Let's read it together. It's time for President Obama to protect bees from toxic pesticides before it's too late. As you can tell, this advertisement is not new. It's actually from several years ago. However, it still serves our purpose for finding the pathos. So let's do that. The technical term that I must understand for this advertisement is pesticides. Pesticides are chemicals farmers add to crops to keep insects from harming or eating their crops. A powerful adjective that you may find is toxic. The literal meaning of the word toxic is poisonous. It provides emotional impact because it makes the audience angry about the poisoning of the essential bees. If it weren't for the bees, then we couldn't have crops. They're what is responsible for the pollination. Then we have the powerful verb protect. The literal meaning of the verb protect is to keep safe. This provides emotional impact because it makes the audience want to take action to save the bees. They're likely to pick up their phone and text bees to 77177 right away to sign this petition. The audience this is intended for are people who care and will help to fight to save these bees. By appealing to pathos or strong emotion, the advertiser has done a great job in persuading the audience to help by signing this petition. Now it's your turn. Let's look at the advertisement for St. Jude's Cancer Research Hospital. In the My Notes section of your packet, make sure you write down the technical terms that help you understand this advertisement, along with powerful verbs and adjectives. Write down those words' literal meanings, and make sure that you analyze the emotions or pathos used in this advertisement. Finally, what is the intended audience? You can pause here and write down your information. An important technical term for understanding this advertisement is cancer. Cancer is a disease that kills many people around the world every day. A powerful adjective that you may have encountered is the word childhood. The word childhood describes the type of cancer that St. Jude's treats. Childhood also refers to children and teenagers. The emotional impact of this advertisement is that it makes the audience sympathetic or feel sorry for the children because they have this terrible disease. Powerful verbs such as keep finding and won't stop have a literal meaning of to continue. This means that the research center is going to continue at all costs to find any way to help children succeed to help children and cure the cancer. The emotional impact of this advertisement is that it gives the audience hope that the hospital will succeed in curing all childhood cancers. The intended audience are people who want to donate to help research for children's cancer. The St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital has done a wonderful job by using Pathos to help its audience want to donate in their fight to continue to eradicate cancer from the children in America. Now, let's turn our attention to the Humane Society advertisement. Pause here and examine the slide for technical terms that will help you understand the advertisement. Look for powerful adjectives and verbs, and make sure you write down their literal meanings. The emotions or pathos that's used, as well as the emotions or pathos used and the intended audience of this advertisement. The technical terms that will help you understand this advertisement are abuse, meaning to harm; victim, someone or something that has been harmed; humane, having compassion or showing kindness. The Humane Society deals with ethical treatment of animals. A powerful adjective you might find is violent. The word violent gives a negative connotation or feeling. Violence literal meaning is dangerous. This shows us that it's dangerous for animals to live in these violent situations. The emotional impact that this advertisement has, it makes the audience angry and worried about the animals. A powerful verb you might find is the word encourages. The word encourages means to get someone to take action. The emotional impact of this advertisement is it serves to convince the audience to contact someone about animal abuse. And the intended audience are people who may be a witness to an animal abuse. And the intended audience are people who may be witnesses to animal abuse. The final advertisement is for Greenpeace. Greenpeace is an organization that fights for a greener, healthier world for our oceans, forests, food, climate, and democracy, no matter what forces stand in their way. Pause here to analyze the advertisement for technical words that help you understand the advertisement, powerful adjectives, and powerful verbs. Remember to think about the literal meanings of the words, the emotions and pathos used, and the intended audience for this advertisement. Now, let's analyze this advertisement together. The technical term that's needed for this advertisement is the word Arctic. Arctic is the region around the North Pole. The Arctic is the location of the polar ice caps, and the ice caps provide home to many animals. If they're destroyed, those animals have no place to live. A powerful adjective you may have found is the word greedy. Greedy has a literal meaning of having a selfish desire for possessions no matter the cost. The emotional impact of this advertisement is designed to make the audience angry that the oil companies are being selfish and drilling and diminishing the habitats of these animals. A powerful verb that you may see is the word exploit. The literal meaning of exploit means to take advantage of resources no matter the cost. The emotional impact of this advertisement is that it makes the audience angry and want to support Greenpeace in their cause. And the intended audience are people who will donate to help save the Arctic and the animals therein. Now let's turn our attention to the Wounded Warrior Project advertisement. Let's take a look, shall we? The Wounded Warrior Project helped me reclaim my life. I am living proof. We see a soldier on this advertisement with a prosthetic leg. He is a member of the Wounded Warrior Project. Let's analyze this particular advertisement for Pathos. Pause now and write down in your My Notes section the technical terms that may help you understand this advertisement, along with powerful verbs and adjectives. Ensure that you write down the literal meanings of those verbs and adjectives, along with the emotions or pathos used in this advertisement. Finally, make sure to write down the intended audience. Pause here and take time to write down in the My Notes section. Let's go over it together. A technical term that you might see is warrior. A warrior is a soldier who has fought in a war. So this is clearly a man in the photograph that has fought in a war and lost his leg. Powerful adjective would be wounded. The literal meaning of the word wounded is injured. In this photograph of the man, we see that he is wounded because he's missing his leg and has a prosthetic. The emotional impact of this advertisement is that it calls our attention to the soldier's missing leg, and it appeals to the emotion of sympathy. Sympathy is where we feel sorry for something that has happened to someone. A powerful verb that we may see is reclaimed. The literal meaning to the verb reclaimed is to retrieve or recover. The emotional impact of the word reclaim serves to convince the audience to donate money to help a wounded warrior regain hope for his quality of life. The intended audience are people who will take action and donate money in order to save soldiers in this situation. So, the Wounded Warrior Project uses pathos to persuade their audience to provide support for wounded soldiers. By appealing to pathos, Greenpeace motivates people to take a stand for the environment. Looping helps add to your thoughts, clarify your thinking, or generate new ideas. With looping, you can underline an important sentence or particular word or phrase in your writing. You then write a few more sentences to add new ideas. Looping, in a nutshell, is elaborating or expanding on your ideas. It is necessary to use looping to help add pathos to your argumentative writing in order to convince your audience of your claim. We can always use looping to help explain details to our reader. That way, our reader isn't left with any questions. Let's take a look at the activity, adding by looping. In this activity, you see a letter. Imagine you have drafted the following note to your family, trying to convince them where to go on vacation. Let's read it together. Dear family, I would like to go to Colorado Dear family, I would like to go to Colorado for our family vacation. We could go on a rafting trip there. I have heard that rafting is an exhilarating experience. My friend's family went last summer, and she described plunging down rapids and paddling against intense currents. Going rafting together would be exciting and would probably make our family bond even stronger. Thank you for considering it, your daughter. For this activity, you will use looping to add an emotional appeal by underlining an important sentence, phrase, or word, and then writing 2 more sentences in the space that follows, item 1 and item 2. Be sure to use power verbs and adjectives in your new sentences. You may pause here and begin now. Let's go over some examples. Remember, your answers will vary and should be different from mine. For example, one could start looping after the first sentence. We could add, last year we went to Disneyland, but going to Colorado would be an outdoor adventure and a lot cheaper. By looping back and adding this sentence, we have talked about a past trip that our family has taken. We have given a new vacation idea, appealed to the family's sense of adventure, and also made an attempt to convince the family it will be less expensive this year. Now, let's try and use looping to add to the second sentence. A sentence could be added after, make our family bond stronger. We could add, as a family, we mainly go to the movies together. This would be an opportunity to do exciting and challenging things together. When we loop back to add this sentence, we add reasoning to why we have a need to make our family bond stronger. This appeals to the family's need for quality time. It adds in current bonding moments, but it adds opportunity for the family to strengthen their bond with addition of a challenging and exciting adventure. When we loop back and add this sentence, we add reasoning to why we have a need to make the family bond stronger. This appeals to the family's need for quality time. It adds in current bonding moments, but it adds an opportunity for the family to strengthen their bonds with the addition of a challenging and exciting adventure. So, here we have the 2 example sentences. You may pause here and catch up. Remember, answers will vary and you should have something different than me. You should add information to this letter by looping. Remember, you can add that information by adding powerful verbs and adjectives that appeal to pathos or your emotions. Now it's time to pause and check for understanding. Here are your 3 questions. What is the relationship between persuasive diction and appealing to pathos? What power adjectives and verbs did you add that were especially effective? If you were going to improve the practice paragraph even more, what would you do? What do you notice is missing? Explain. Now that you've had time to check your understanding, let's go over each question. Question number 1. What is the relationship between persuasive diction and appealing to pathos? Persuasive diction is when one persuades an audience with word choice. The relationship between persuasive diction and pathos is that pathos adds an appeal to the audience emotion That pathos adds an appeal to the audience's emotions through that word choice. Question number 2. What power adjectives and verbs did you add that were especially effective? Remember, your answers will vary from mine. Here, you could have any words that were found in the advertisements. For example, I used greedy. Greedy is a powerful adjective because it has the power to cause the audience to get angry with the oil companies for damaging the Arctic and taking away habitats for animals. Question number 3. If you were going to improve the practice paragraph even more, what would you do? What do you notice is missing? Explain. Answers will vary here, but you could add information regarding the location of different rafting businesses in Colorado, and you could also add more detailed accounts from the friend who visited just last year. Make sure to pause here and gather all information for the check understanding questions. At this time, you will not complete the activity for revising for persuasive diction. You do not have that assignment. Now it's time for the timed writing assignment. On a separate piece of paper, write a response to one of the following prompts. Consider your audience and purpose as you plan your draft. Remember to apply your knowledge of how to write a claim and support it with relevant reasons and evidence. Make sure to use looping to add appeals to pathos by adding in powerful adjectives and powerful verbs. The first topic is convince a family member of something you would like to do over the summer. The second topic is convince your principal or teacher to change a school rule or policy. The third topic is convince a friend of something you would like to do together this weekend. Once you have drafted your letter, analyze the beginning and end of your text. Explain how you started and ended your letter. Pause here and complete this task. Now it's time to read and respond. In your independent reading, that's your reading outside of class, find at least 5 words or phrases that carry strong emotional meaning. Write them in your notes and set a goal to use them more in your writing. Finally, to wrap up, in this section, we learned how persuasive diction allows us to use word choice to persuade our readers. We also learned that pathos allows us to appeal to emotions of our audience through the use of powerful adjectives and verbs. We also learned that looping helps us to add more detail and pathos to our sentences within paragraphs and argumentative writing. This has been Mrs. No from Northwest Middle School.